Okay, 10 o'clock. We're just going to start in 1 minute, everybody. As I say, there's a chat function. If you're having any technical issues or similar, don't hesitate just to put it in the chat and we'll see if we can help you out. But hopefully you're seeing my screen with the title of the presentation and also able to hear us correctly. Okay, I think it's 1 minute past 10. Let's kick this off. You're very welcome. My name is Seamus Flanagan, and we are running a webinar today entitled Making the Move to Dynamics Business Central Online, All You Need to Know. This is a recorded session. The session took place on the 6th of May, Thursday, 6th of May at 10 a.m. Okay, now today we have a fairly tight agenda. It's going to be an hour-long session. If you have any questions, there's a Q&A at the end. Please post them to the chat and I'll monitor the chat and bring those questions to the team here. The agenda with brief introductions from the team here within Codec. I'll give a 5-minute overview of Codec and what we do within the Irish and UK markets. Then I'll hand over to my colleague Brendan, who will talk really around why the move to Dynamics 365 Business Central Online is proven to be so popular within the Irish and UK market, and he'll talk about some of the challenges we're seeing from customers, but also the benefits. Be handed over then to our colleague Gemma, who will do a live demo of the system. Finally, we'll just talk around some customer references, customer success stories and similar, and we'll just do a wrap at the end, just talking around the Q&A and suggested next steps. Okay, so today we actually have 3 colleagues from Codec in attendance. I do apologize. We've a late addition to the team on that. I just didn't have a chance to put up the graphics, but my name is Seamus Flanagan and I am a account manager / sales manager with Codec Ireland. Look after Microsoft application sales, so that is all business applications, ERP, CRM and similar. Joined today by the head of the ERP practice, Brendan Doyle. Brendan, if you'd like to say hello, please.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, and also Brendan's colleague, Gemma. Gemma, would you like to say hello, please?
Yeah, hi, everyone.
Thanks a million, Gemma. Okay, so let's just crack on. So I'm going to give a quick 5-minute overview of Codec and just introduce the group to everybody. Okay, so key messages around this introduction is Codec is over 36 years in business in Ireland. We are predominantly a Microsoft partner and we're a very successful Microsoft partner. So 3 out of the last 5 years, we have been the Microsoft Partner of the Year. 5 out of the last 5 years, we've been the Dynamics Practice of the Year, and Dynamics obviously includes Business Central Online. We operate on a range of projects, small to large, you know, up to 10 million, but as low as less than 100,000 euro on occasion. We take end-to-end responsibility on program design, its analysis, its solution documents, right through configuration and build to a handover via UAT and similar. And as I say, after 36 years, we've quite a well-trodden project methodology that really leads through to customer success. Looking a little bit within the business applications team here within Codec, we would be comfortably the largest Dynamics practice within Ireland. Looking particularly at the ERP specialization, we have over 100 years ERP experience, program delivery and similar. We also do the full gamut, as I said, of the Microsoft stack. So some of the innovation and similar that we see taking place beyond core ERP systems is around the Power Platform. And we also create intellectual property, which are accelerators or similar for packs that the Microsoft package cannot perform out of the box. So an example of that would be the localization of Business Central Online for the Irish market, and that would be handling the VAT, ROS integrations and similar. Okay, so as I said, we're 36 years in business. We have over 240 FTE. We're not a small business. We are a turnover of over 30 million and growing annually. Our HQ is in Dublin, but we have significant offices in Ireland and Western Europe. The HQ, even though we haven't been in the office for a little while, like I'm sure a lot of everybody on this call, is just on Adelaide Road, beside the Ioneer Hospital, so leafy Dublin 2, and we're all missing a nice coffee and cappuccinos that are available in the area. But that's another day's story. And really, you know, as I say, we're 36 years in business, and we live by a reputation. You know, we have a big philosophy here within Codec that customer sells to customers. So customer advocacy and our reputation to customer success and the program delivery on time, on budget, is a key attribute and a key philosophy within the company. Just briefly to talk a little bit about where or what industries we operate in. I wouldn't like to say Codec is specialized in any one industry. We work across all industries within Ireland, large and small, from data center assets, public sector, aviation, retail, manufacturing, FS and similar. You know, a sample here on the left-hand side, you can see that, you know, we have a strong brand association from successful projects previously. Now, as I say, this this webinar will be recorded and available for your review. So brief summary of all those key Codec introduction points. 36 years in business, a full stack and successful Microsoft practice. We have some exceptionally competent and skilled and dedicated consultants who have attained most valuable person MVP titles within the Microsoft community. Within the Microsoft practice, we have 150 personnel, and over 100 of them are fully certified Microsoft professionals. We have a significant range of gold competencies, of gold partner certifications from Microsoft. And we're also investing heavily. So over on the left-hand side, some new certifications that we've recently acquired would be Azure Expert MSP. I just noticed a typo there, my bad. Windows Virtual Desktop Specialization, and obviously we're constantly enhancing the cloud applications, certifications, and related. Outside of core Microsoft certifications, we're ISO accredited around service management, service delivery, and program management. Okay, and here's just some of a snapshot of that. Obviously today we are predominantly talking around cloud applications, which is Business Central Online. Okay, so just to give a little bit of context, when you look at Microsoft, it might look like a complex organization to really understand where you need to go to get conversations started around the required functionality you may be interested, particular to your job role, your requirements and related. We're talking on Dynamics, and Dynamics is, for all intents and purposes, the business application suite. And as I said at the top of the call, that's Business Central Online, CRM, Power Platform and related. And that's something that we can guide you through, just how to navigate your functional choice and related. Focus today very much Business Central Online. Okay, so briefly, just before I hand over to you, Brendan, I just want to talk a little bit about the culture, which I touched on at the top of the call. You know, we are, as a team, invigorated by exciting, complex projects. You know, what might seem complex to you, we probably have done something similar before, so there's a wealth of experience we bring to bear. I think collectively, we like to be challenged as individuals and as teams, and that allows us to grow both professionally and grow the business as well. And you know, the overall concept within Codec is that we always are seeking to know more and do more, and that's something that we're doing. We used to do an awful lot of events. Now we're obviously very skilled in the dark arts of running webinars and similar. So Brendan, if you'd like to just take over there for a little bit, and I'll just come back in at the end just and to do the Q&A, and I'll monitor the chat in the interval. Okay.
Thanks, Seamus. Thanks for that. That was a great introduction. So follow that. So just let me know if you can see my screen.
Can.
Yeah. So let's talk about Business Central and why do you want to transform your business with Business Central, or how can you transform your business? But if we look at first, what are the whys? In research from Nucleus Research, we've seen that the common issues in ERP systems are that they constrain business growth. So the types of things that we're talking about are that the functionality is not available. Businesses are struggling with trying to move and advance their functionality. They have 54% of businesses have disconnected systems. They can't link systems together, and even if they do, they're not necessarily coordinated. Reporting limitations were cited by half of businesses. This is a major issue where the configuration of reports is too complicated. You can't connect from one system to another. Data is distributed, and this is a key issue for businesses. And probably the biggest one with Business Central Online, comparison to previous systems, most legacy systems are on-prem. They don't have a roadmap that brings you onto online. They don't have a roadmap that's scalable. IT costs are a real concern for businesses. In half of businesses, they're worried about backups, they're worried about disaster recovery. And this applies to translate that into some reality. Like, it applies to packages like Exchequer, QuickBooks, Opera, and Sage. But even cloud-based systems like Xero and Accounts IQ, even though they're in the cloud, they probably don't have the richness of functionality that you need. Maybe you need project costing. The reporting system is not included. It's not seamless. There's a lack of integration with commonly used products like the Microsoft Excel, Word, and even Outlook. So if I talk about Business Central, there's two kind of main categories of why you would want to go to Business Central and how it resolves those issues for you. And the first one is looking at adaptive business operations. Business Central has a wealth of functionality. It's fully integrated, covering all business processes. So that's sales and service management, supply chain, operations, assembly and manufacturing, project management, reporting and analytics, and of course, finance, not to leave that out. You can run your business anywhere, anytime, deployed in the cloud, connect through a browser, on your device, on an app. You have fully flexible data residency, as well as compliance and security of access. And it's a universal mobile-enabled user experience, which means users have the same powerful, intuitive experience across all devices. You can create role-based workspaces. This means that users only see what they need to see. It's fully embedded with Microsoft 365, previously known as Office 365. So in this example here, you can use Business Central directly from Outlook. You don't need to leave Outlook, and we'll be seeing some of that later with Gemma. You can also use Excel. There's an edit in Excel feature. So not only do you don't have to copy and paste from Excel to Business Central, you can actually use Business Central from within Excel and just post directly from Excel. Huge innovation in AI. You know, probably in previous iterations of Microsoft functionality, the functionality was there but not connected. Right now, we'll be showing you today how machine learning and AI is built into the Microsoft suite and built into Business Central. We can show you how you can even use AI to predict future trends based on data that's within Business Central, and this comes built into the functionality. We can even have an image analyzer. So if you upload an image of a table, for example, it will actually analyze the image and detect what attributes you should be including in that in your systems. So this is all out of the box functionality. And let's look at technology modernization, the other area. A huge advancement is because Business Central is online, you have no infrastructure. You have what we call a tenant admin center, and within that you can create and manage production and sandbox or test environments. You get updates twice a year. They're major updates with lots of new functionality. All your add-ons or apps for Business Central are all managed within this admin center. You can create a test environment so that you can test the new functionality before it's released, and you can manage when it's released in your business. And it also looks after your backups and your disaster recovery. So if, for example, you know, you have an issue with your database, you can go in and restore a backup for, let's say, from any day for the last 30 days. And you can also configure that for what you want to store for the last 2 years. A huge thing, Strive now is the integration with the Power Platform. So you can unify your data processes across all sources. And this includes creating workflows that might start in Word, then go into or might start in Outlook, for example, based on a trigger in Business Central. Somebody adds a new date, and then that's added into a calendar event, and all in a really easy configurable workflow. You know, that's low code or no code. Your data is online, your systems are online. So what security do you have? What service levels do you have? So Microsoft give 99.9% service availability. You have disaster recovery in less than 12 hours and a lot less than 24 hours. And even if there is any doubt about how committed Microsoft are to this, there's even a credit if, for example, you have less than 99.9% availability. The system in Business Central is fully extensible now, using the Power Apps platform, Power Automate into Office 365, and data in the Dataverse, which was previously known as Common Data model. So there are full connectors available there, but Business Central now has a really rich web service functionality. So we're now using APIs to connect into third-party apps, e-commerce systems, other legacy systems that are on-premise, and also cloud services. So now we're going to talk to Gemma. Is going to take us through some actual real, I've just showed the PowerPoint slide. Gemma is going to actually do the real demonstration now and show you get your hands on Business Central.
Thanks, Brendan. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
I'm having the pop-up box saying start broadcast. Do I have to click that?
No, I can see your screen. Everything looks okay.
Oh, good.
Okay, fantastic. So today what we're going to have a look at is how some of the other Microsoft products enhance Business Central. So we'll have a look at Outlook, Word, Excel, and Power BI, all working together to improve and enhance what's possible within Business Central. So we're going to start off in our Outlook account. So we have an email here from a supplier confirming that they have certain items in stock that we're looking to purchase. And what we're going to do is we're going to drill from that email into Business Central. Business Central will recognize that the sender of this email address is a contact for either a customer or a vendor. And then it'll give us some information about the customer or vendor's account. And from there, we can start processing documents based on our particular email. So in this case, I can access Business Central from within Outlook by opening up Contact Insights. So what this does is it finds our contact, it looks to see is it a customer or a vendor. In this particular case, this contact is actually both a customer and a vendor. So Business Central displays both accounts and asks me which account is it that I want to use today. So I'm going to choose it's a vendor for this particular instance, this particular email. So straight away, Business Central loads relevant information to our vendor. So we can see that there is a balance on the vendor's account. We can see that we have outstanding orders. We can see that our balance is actually an overdue amount, which may be an issue with the vendor. If we scroll down, then we can see our payables on this particular account. We can also drill in and see the current documents that have either been processed in the past or that are currently live with our vendor. So for example, we can see here a list of open orders, open purchase orders, and I can actually drill into that list from within Outlook. I'm still within Outlook, and I can see the corresponding orders that are making up the queue that we see on our email page. So we have a lot of powerful information. If there was any notes added to that particular vendor, we'd have all of that visible to us from within Outlook. So in this particular case, our email here is it's querying with the vendor if we have certain items in stock and if they'll be ready to be delivered on May the 20th. And then the supplier asks us to send a PO to confirm the order. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to create a purchase order. We can do that from within Outlook. So simply coming up here and clicking a purchase order, I'm creating a new purchase order within Outlook. So now we can see some of the AI that Brendan was talking about. The email has been read. It's picked up the description of the contents that we're looking to purchase within the email. It's found corresponding items in Business Central with a similar description, and it's asking, as well as a quantity, it's asking us, are these the items that you want to add to your purchase order? So I'm going to select them and say, yes, it is. I'm going to say, yeah, I'm happy with those items that the system is suggesting to me. And now it goes off and it creates a purchase order still within Outlook. So you can see it brings up our vendor details, brings up the 2 lines that we added here. Now I want to have a good look at this before it goes out to the supplier. So I can pop it out into another email. Sorry, so I can pop it out. I'm still within Outlook. It's popped out into another window. So when it opens up, it's going to give us a visibility of all of the content of our purchase order, and it's just in an easier to read screen. I'm just going to extend that a little bit, and actually I'm going to increase the size of it because it might be a little small just to read there. Okay, so you should be able to see that a little clearer now. We can see that we have our vendor. Yeah, thanks, Brendan. The contact that we're dealing with, our document date, the items that we're looking to purchase. You can see that it's brought the price in. There was no price within the email. It's picked up the price from Business Central and brought it into our purchase order that we're creating still in Outlook. So I can review all this and say, yes, I'm happy with this. If you had workflows or approvals enabled on your purchase order, you could send this PO for approval all within Outlook. And then what you could do is if the approver was away from their office, they would have Business Central on an app on their phone. They would receive an email that says a purchase order is waiting approval. They could click on that email. It would open up the link to the appropriate purchase order within the app on their phone, and they could all approve it, while they're sitting somewhere having lunch while they're out and about. So that's, great flexibility and mobility of the system. Okay, so I'm happy with my purchase order now, and I'm going to send it to my vendor. So I can simply scroll down and we have the option to send it. So at this stage now, Business Central Outlook links back into Business Central, and it picks up an email template that's created in Business Central for our emailing our purchase order. Picks up the vendor number, the name, the order number, order date, and the value of the order, and we can send that off now to our supplier. It also has a copy of the PO attached down below here, so we can open up that all from within the email before it goes out to the supplier. Okay, so we can see that. Just open that up. So it has quite a lot of information, quite powerful functionality, all still within Outlook. And if we want to just swap back to Business Central, we can have a look and we can check that's our PO 106036. And just to show you, if I drop back into Business Central and I open up my purchase orders page, we'll find that order is live in Business Central. I'm just going to resort these so I see my more recent ones at the top. And we can see this is the order that we've just created.
Brilliant.
Okay. So we're going to now have a look at it from a different angle. We're going to look at another email now back within Outlook, whereby we've received an email from the customer instead of the vendor. The customer is asking us, can they check what is the due date for an invoice that they have outstanding on their account, and if we could send them a copy of their invoice. So again, we can do this all within Business Central. So all we have to do within Business Central, it's recognizing that this is a document number. It's helped by the fact that the word invoice is in the email. We don't even have to open up contacts or the contacts insight for Business Central. We can simply click on the invoice number, and Business Central Outlook is going to go in and read from Business Central and display for us the invoice detail in Outlook promptly. So from here, we'll be able to see our due date, and we will be able to email the invoice to our customer. We might not actually at this moment. Let me just try that again. If I go into the other way. No, stuck in a loop for me at the moment. Okay.
The beauty of live demo.
Yeah, dude, love live demos. But essentially, that's how it works. It's simply just clicking on the invoice number, and it opens up the prompt. I have a lot of kind of different accounts open, and sometimes that can cause it a bit of grief, but works usually. And it's the same email functionality. You're just basically opening up the email and saying send to the customer, exactly like we saw there in the for sending the purchase order. Okay. I'm going to swap into Business Central now and have a look at how we can use Word with Business Central. So some of the options within Word, so let's have a look at printing a basic standard sales invoice. So if we have a look at a standard sales invoice, I'm just going to open up our posted sales invoices, and I'm going to click on a most recent one.
That world is letting us down today.
It is, yeah. It's not usually. It's usually prompt. So I'm not 100% sure what. I think something's causing it a bit of grief, but we'll just have a look and we'll print our sales invoice. So when we print our sales invoice, you have basic standard RDLC report option available for you, so that it's kind of just basic text on your sales invoice. It's doesn't have any pretty enhancements to show for the user. Sorry, I'm just going to swap out into this different environment. So what we can do is we can use different variations of Word to create different templates for our sales invoice. So if we have a look here at this particular layout, these are default layouts that exist in Business Central. So I'm just going to run this particular one that's quite, we'll run an existing posted sales invoice just to test it. So this is showing a very simple Word layout, very, very simple. It doesn't have a lot of information on it. And that's kind of one simple option that we can use, kind of if it's services related, that's an option. But we also have some other some other invoice layouts. So if we click up here and we click run, and we select the same invoice number, and we click preview, you can see that this is a nicer format already. It has some color at the top that might link into our logo. It has the squares around the pages, all completely defined and set as a template in Word. It's the same invoice, same detail. So let's just check one more. So we have a red one here, which is personally one that I like to use. I think it's quite a nice invoice layout. And what we'll have a look at now is how we can change this invoice layout and make changes to it very simply within Word. So we can see we've opened it up there. This is much nicer format. It has some color into it. Again, it might match the colors in our logos. But let's say I wanted to add a bit of text into it. It's getting to Christmas and I want to wish our customers a happy Christmas. We can do that in Business Central. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a copy of this particular layout. So I'm going to copy it, and that creates a copy for me. And now I'm going to export it. So it's going to open up the template in Word. So we can have a look at that in Word. And when we look at it in Word, then we can add or remove information. We can either add fields, other fields that we want to display on our sales invoice, or we can just hard code text. I can type text directly into the document, and then I can import it back to Business Central. Okay, so this is our template of our sales invoice, the red one that we were looking at earlier. So all of these are headings and fields within our sales invoice in Business Central. So I'm just going to scroll down. So let's say it's Christmas and we want to wish our customers happy Christmas, or we might want to tell them about kind of a sales service we have, some kind of special offer that's coming up soon. All of those kind of lines of text can be embedded into your sales invoice. So I'm just going to save this, and I'm going to import it back into Business Central. Sorry, wrong one. This is the one that I want. So I'm going to import this back in. And then I'm going to run it again. I'm going to choose the same invoice number. And we can see Happy Christmas coming up on our email, on our sales invoice. So now all we have to do is tell the system that when we print off a sales invoice, this is the version of the invoice that I wanted to print. And you can also do this on a customer by customer basis. So you might have one specific invoice layout that you want to go to a certain customer or group of customers, and a slightly different sales invoice layout going to other customers. So you can choose on a customer by customer basis which sales invoice layout they receive. Okay, so that's an example of seeing how Word enhances Business Central. We're now going to swap over and have a look at Excel and see how Excel works. Okay, so I'm just going to swap back to my original environment, and I might just actually reload it because I think it's caught a bit. And what we're going to do in this particular scenario is I have a journal that is in Excel, and I'm going to import that journal from Excel into Business Central. And we can see how easy it is. It does the same checking of if there's any errors in the journal. It will apply the same checks as if you were manually entering the journal within Business Central. So this journal is kind of replicating at the end of the month. You might have had a lot of postings into one account that should have gone into another account. So we're taking it out of our expense account and moving it into a second expense account. Okay, so I'm just going to select all of the lines that I want to import here, and I've just hit Control C to copy them. I'm going to open up our general journal, and I'm just going to select a particular batch within that general journal. So this batch is one that I'm happy to work off. So it's very simply, I just click into the first line on the journal and I click paste, and it's going to paste in all the lines from Excel into Business Central. And you can see over on the right hand side there's some checks with our journal with the lines that we've imported. You can see that it's got one line with issues, and if we can even drill in and see what that issue is. So Business Central is going to show us that there's a line that must not be empty. It tells us the line is line number 13, or in Business Central's terms, 130,000, which essentially is line number 13. So if I go back and I have a look at the data that I've imported, we'll see the very last line down here has a 0 value. So I'm going to delete this line, and now that should clear my issues, and my journal should be ready to post. Okay, so you'll see now that there are 0 issues on our on our entry. If I click down, now we're okay on our journal. Everything is fine and it's ready to post. Okay. So that's kind of using Outlook in its simple form. Of course, every page that you see within Business Central allows you to export it out into Excel. That's kind of standard. Every page has an open in Excel option related to it. So one of the things that we're going to have a look at today is we also, in Business Central Online, there's a new facility of edit in Excel. So what this does is it will take the particular data in the page that you have open and it will export it out into Excel, but it will do it in a format whereby you can now amend the data in Excel and push it back to Business Central. So let's say in this particular instance, we are looking to update and standardize the payment terms on all customers. We have all of the customer list exported out to Business Central. Business Central is just going to log in. It's going to check that I have the rights to do this. So it takes just a little bit of time to do that. And then it's going to load all my data from the customer file into this particular page that we see here in Business Central. So you can see over here in the side that it's authenticating that I have the rights to do this. Obviously, it's not a one for all kind of option within your system. You can control the users who have access to do this. So once my data loads, it gives you pretty much all of the fields that you would be entering information in Business Central. You wouldn't have the options to override things like balances, although the data may be displayed to you. It's not going to give you the option to actually overwrite that particular information. So once we have this loaded, we will then go in and just amend our payment terms. It's struggling a little bit. It's usually quicker than this.
We'll blame Vodafone or Aircom or Air.
Yes, that's a great idea. Yeah. There we go. Okay, we have our data. Okay, so you can see here we have the names, and each one of these names are the names that they're clearly definable and linked to corresponding names within your customer card. So I'm just going to keep scrolling over here to the right hand side. And I'll find an entry here for my payment terms. So you'll see there's quite a lot. Okay, there we go, payment terms. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say for this particular scenario, we're updating the same payment terms on all customers. So I'm just going to copy that down to the remainder of our data. So that updates all of them here in Business Central. Now, you can also use this for things like updating customer information. If you have got, somebody like a student in for the summer, it's a good idea where they can go in and make sure all the information on customer accounts are correct and verify them. When you're happy with the changes that you've made, you can publish it back to Business Central. So that it will read each individual field. It will see, has there been a change in Business Central since this data was exported? If it has, it actually stops and tells you, well, hang on, there's already been changes here. So what do you want to do with those particular entries? But in this case, it should be a blanket upload back into Business Central by amending the payment terms for all of our customers. So it does the same checks as well. If I had entered a payment term here of maybe 34 days and we hadn't defined those payment terms in Business Central, it would push back an error and say, no, you can't upload that. That's not a valid entry in Business Central. So again, you have the same checks similar to how we saw when we import to the journal. It does the same checks to make sure that what you're pushing back into Business Central is valid data. Okay. So because of all these checks, it's not the quickest thing in the world, but it means that your data is correct, which is extremely important. So we'll see that. We'll jump back into that after it's finished publishing. The next thing that I'm going to show you is how we can look at Power BI, and we can see and embed Power BI dashboards on our Role Center, which is essentially your home page in Business Central. So it's nearly done there. Come on. we'll swap over and we'll swap back. Okay, so if I look here now back on my role center in Business Central, we'll see that we have a huge amount of information on our dashboard. Business Central, the role center designed to give you information that make your daily task or your daily job easier. So for example, this particular role center is a business manager. So they have information queues about all different areas of the system. So we've sales, purchasing, finance, all coming together on this particular role center. So this one shows you a lot. So you can see our ongoing sales, our ongoing purchases, and payments which need to be processed. We can have a look at approvals, any user tasks. We also have visibility of emails, and if there was any failed emails, we can have a look to see what the issues are with those. But key bits, what we also have is some of the insights that Brendan was mentioning, some of the AI that's working. So we have charts as well from existing information, and also using the insights they're pulling together to give us some really powerful charts all within our role center. So we could see we have an accounts receivable. We can basically go on to our next chart. So we've quite a variety, accounts payable, of different charts that are visible as all standard within Business Central. So we can see here our top 10 customers. We can drill in and we can see where these values come from. So it's quite, oh, actually I renamed that customer. We can drill in and have a look here and see where these sales come from. So it's quite powerful information. We can also have down here, you can see, sorry, that's our customer that we're having a look at the sales. You can see down further, we have Power BI, we have a mini trial balance. So there's, again, a lot of different information coming together on our role center. The Power BI one is interesting because we are seeing one dashboard here. It's giving us our net change over a certain time frame, but we can drill in and see more information. There's more information linked to this particular dashboard. So we can go up to Power BI and we can expand this report. So when we open it up, open up on a new page in Business Central. It's easier to read rather than looking at the small dashboard. And it's also kind of interactive at this stage. We can see that behind, linked to this particular dashboard, we have other dashboards. So you can see down the bottom here, we have our financial dashboard, which is basically a summary of 3 or 4 different dashboards in Power BI. So we can see all of them quite easily. We can also, as I mentioned, kind of drill in to Power BI dashboards. So this is a good one. We can see our revenue, we can see our expenditures, we can see our profit before interest. But we can also drill in and have a look at that. So maybe you want to see that kind of by month. So I can ask it to show it as a table. And it's going to give us a summary per month of each of the 3 values that are captured within this particular dashboard. So all really powerful information within Business Central. And the last thing I'm going to show you is I'm just going to swap back to our customer file. And I'm going to refresh our customer file. And we'll see that our payment terms code has all changed to 30 days. Okay, so
Brilliant.
I think that's sort of covering what I was hoping. Just to give you a glimpse into some of the different tools, the Outlook or different Microsoft tools working with Business Central. So I'll hand over to you now, Brendan. Thank you.
That's great. Thanks very much, Gemma. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at some customer success stories. So let me know when you can see my screen.
Yeah.
Cool.
We're good, Brendan.
So the first one we're going to look at is a project that was a recent project, a business called Datalex. And you probably haven't, or you may or may not have heard of Datalex, but in the past, you probably have definitely used their products and services. So Datalex is the world's leading travel distribution platform. And if you've ever booked an Aer Lingus flight, you booked it through Datalex. So when you log into the Aer Lingus website, that's actually Datalex's systems. You probably haven't done that for a while, but you can see there they deal with like global businesses, Air China, Virgin Atlantic, Air Malta. And one of the interesting things is, if we look at Datalex's reasons what the issues they had, it's exactly the same as we presented at the start. They had constrained business growth. Their systems weren't allowing them cope with their global group. They have businesses and companies in China, Italy, Holland, UK, Ireland, the US. They have multiple localizations for their complex tax and VAT requirements. They have a complex delivery model. So companies in China, the resources there would be delivering projects that were sold through businesses in the US. So they had to translate the currency. They have to manage their work in progress, and sometimes they're working on R&D in Italy, which gets capitalized in Ireland, where they hold their IP. So multiple issues. Their systems, they had multiple systems, and they were trying to get them all to work together using spreadsheets in between to reorganize data. Huge coordination challenges. Their reporting was all completely in Excel, because it's the only way they could get the data together. There was no links between systems. They had no self-service reporting on their data, and their systems were outdated. They were on-prem, not in the cloud, not accessible from mobile. Very high level of IT support and maintenance costs, and the related worries about backups and disaster recovery. And of course, as we've seen, Gemma showed that like the huge advantages of being able to integrate with just standard Office applications. They had nothing like that. So what did we do? We embarked on a transformational change program with them. We implemented Business Central, built on Codec Labs. So Codec Labs is our innovation hub, where we create accelerator products that Seamus talked about. So they're enhancements and apps for Business Central that work as an integral part. We have a whole suite of apps, that not only the Ireland localization for Business Central, but we have a public sector accelerator. We have a construction industry accelerator, so things dealing with things like different PSWT taxes, RCT taxes, self-charge VAT, and we've enhanced those products over the years. Niall O'Sullivan was appointed as CFO, and he led the transformational change program. Niall is the former finance director of EMEA at Google, and he, in their annual report, he even called out how they have enriched their financial process, talked about the new group ERP system, giving them more in-depth information, being available for faster decision making, and as well as that, the control environment and quality and depth of budgetary analysis has increased massively. Another success story, a project that we're really proud of, is CityJet. Again, you probably haven't used their services either for a while, but they are Europe's leading wet lease provider. So their business model is they provide their customers with an aircraft, a complete crew, all maintenance on the aircraft and related issues, and insurance. So it's a full service offering. Again, they had the same issues, that multi-company, multi-currency, operating in countries across Europe. They had large staff numbers, and with crew, aircraft crew expenses and travel, that it's a big issue, and they had nothing integrated into their ERP system. Again, intercompany consolidations, a major issue for them, and reporting. Again, their systems were disconnected, so aircraft maintenance is a big issue for them, and it's a very strict discipline, and their existing systems just couldn't integrate with that bespoke application. Problems with lease accounting, fixed assets. It was really challenging environment for them. They had no self-service reporting available, and again, dealing with on-prem servers, Like I remember at the start of the project, we had big discussions around what the capacity on their servers or would they have to replace them. We said, no, you just need to register online and we're up and running. We just add the license to your account. You have nothing to worry about. All the backups are managed and you can control them. So we implemented Business Central, again, built on Codec Labs accelerators, integrations for their banking system in Denmark and Ireland, complete workflow, fully integrated expense management and payment, which has revolutionized their expense management. And again, Joan Sheridan, their head of program management and data protection officer, we delivered that project on time and within budget. And even after go live, you know, a few weeks after go live, they could already see how easy things were to do. I remember one of the first things they went to do a bank reconciliation, and the people were thinking, oh, you know, this is going to take half a day or a day, and 10 minutes later they had it done. And it was just, it was completely game changing for them. And, you know, people being able to log in from anywhere on a browser, on a mobile phone, just completely revolutionary for them. So I'm going to hand over to Seamus now, who'll talk to you about next steps.
Super. Just before we go into next steps, just to have a couple of questions to come in, guys, just to play them back to you. Gemma, there was a question here, and if I'm reading this correctly, with respect to you changing the 30-day on the payment terms, what level of control, who gets to authorize that? So what protections can you build in there, please?
So there's kind of a few different aspects to that. So first of all, the people who would have that ability to have edit in Excel would have to be given the rights to be able to do that. Secondly, if you're looking to control that, you can create a workflow on customers whereby if you're importing that information back in, it can trigger a workflow to make sure that you're happy that an approval happens for any of those kind of amendments to customers. So all of that is configurable within the system.
And would there be, just playing that out a little bit, I mean, the origination of the payment terms would come from the sales order. So is it possible just to do a check back, or is there anything else on that?
Yeah, so it's something that you'd only be doing if it had been agreed and customers were aware that this was coming. It's just kind of an example to show you what's possible within amending information in Excel. So yeah.
Super. Then sorry, Brendan, were you going to say something?
No.
Nope. The other question then is just around two more questions, but the second question for you, Gemma, would be just around the look and feel, the UI. Is that out of the box, or is that can we change that around a little bit?
No, you absolutely can change it around. So the screens change really for every particular type of user. So if you have someone from accounts payable, you will apply them what we call a role center. So basically your home page is configured specifically so that it shows you information and shortcuts into the system for areas that you're going to be using on a daily basis. Now, it might include things that are completely useless to you, you're never going to use them. You have the control of removing those things off the screen. You might want to add something. So maybe if you're in accounts payable, but someone's away from accounts receivable, you might have to cover some of their job. You can you can take that information and default it on your page in your own role center so that you have access to that if you need it. And you can also do it on a column and on a field basis. So maybe you open up a customer page and there's information there about intercompany. You don't use intercompany. You have the control to remove those fields off the page. And it's one of the things that I'd always encourage people to do is to strip out the information that isn't relevant to you, specifically for certain types of customers, certain types of users. You know, in some instances, the less that's on the page, the better. You only really need certain fields. Maybe for people are putting up quotes or POs, they only need certain fields. So that's all within the ability of the user or the admin to organize that.
Super. And it's probably a question for both of you. It's just really asking, particularly, I guess, to the customer examples you called out there, Brendan, but on average, what are you looking at as program duration between Coda getting on board, and maybe just talk, I guess, talk around what a program actually looks like.
Yeah, I would say that if you need to be considering start to finish of about 6 months. It's
Okay.
it can happen quicker, but that it's very specific circumstances that need to happen. We run a very specific project methodology that we've refined over the years, which suits ERP projects, because they're different than other IT projects, because their business change and they affect the fundamentals of the business. So we do a very strict waterfall where we document the requirements, get those agreed, we document a solution, then we build the solution in the environment, and then train people how to use it. They then test all the functionality within it, and it's only after all that has happened that we go live. So we minimize the risk at every point in the project.
Okay, that's raising up a second question just coming in to me. What level of interaction engagement do you need from the resources on the customer side?
Okay.
What's the kind of level of dependency on the customer side?
It changes during the project. At the start, if we follow that methodology again, we need engagement up front to understand what you want. So that's the first key. So that will be from either the decision makers or the users, or both. The next piece then is back to us. We envision a solution and we replay that back to the business. So it's the decision makers there. If the users need engagement in terms of their buy-in or change management process, then there would be involvement there. The next phase of the project is where we build and configure. There's minimal involvement, but we give you tasks to get involved in, working on data migration, preparing test scripts for testing. So there's always activity, but the biggest areas of activity are the very start and requirements, and the very end, training and testing before go live.
Okay, and I guess that probably a question from me rather than the audience. And if you do want to add a question, further questions, just do it in the chat. But just talk a little bit around post go live and the handover, an operating model. What's the reality that we're now seeing in a cloud-based ERP environment?
Yeah. So first of all, the concerns about having to manage the infrastructure, they're gone. Backups happen, and it's an easy interface to manage all that process. Updates happen, and they're scheduled. You know when they're coming. It's April and October every year, so yeah. It's predictable. In terms of immediately after go live, we provide what we call hypercare post go live support. So that's basically, the project team is still available for that first month end to help you through that period. We then transition to our support team, the same team that delivers projects within Codec handles our support. We don't outsource, or we don't push anything to another party, or to remote resources like that. We deal with support directly. So even though, for example, if Gemma or I or another resource were working on the implementation, we wouldn't be far away from a support issue if you logged it, after the second month. So we have that learning. We have a very structured, because we document everything that we're delivering. It's very easy for somebody to understand what any support issues might arise in dealing with them.
Okay, just conscious on time. So what we'll do to the audience, that then first always want to thank you, I guess, for your attention and your participation, particularly on the queries there at the end. My contact details and my mugshot obviously are up on screen here. I will reach out to you individually just to see if there's a need for a follow-up. Also, there is a lot of enhanced offers available today from Microsoft from a licensing perspective and similar. One question just came in there: are the codec labs, codec IP licensable? No, they're not. They're part of the core offering of the program. It's just purely on the services, but they're there as just to make the programs quicker. And within the chat to everybody, we have added just a survey form, and I really appreciate if you could just take a moment just to do that, because we do webinars all the time. This one ran relatively smooth, but at the end of the day, if you can make suggestions what you liked, or any suggestions what you'd like to see in future webinars and similar. But other than that, in a very timely manner, that is the hour. And again, Gemma, thank you. And that was really, really good. And very smooth when the broadband was going a little slow. I did see I did see you give a physical yes when it loaded at one stage, which is pretty awesome. And Brendan, look, pleasure as always with your good help. So again, thank you everyone, and have a great day. And we're an email or a phone call away if you need anything. Thanks very much.
Fantastic. Thanks everyone.
Bye.
Bye.